Number 7, C as in Charlie. Now we have Charlie Company. Veteran Services First Quarterly Report 2018. Laura Rios, Director. Good
Chief
afternoon,
Veteran
Laura.
Services. Good afternoon, everyone.
Can I get a motion and support? We have a motion by Leonetti, support by Sauger. Laura, give him hell.
All right. Okay, so we have some first quarter statistics comparing to first quarter of last year. Some key issues I want to point out. We had a no-notice inspection a few weeks ago, actually at the end of March. We had a no-notice inspection from Washington, D.C., and it was in response to, do you remember the student that locked down Central Michigan? That shot up his parents and locked down and they couldn't find him? It locked down a couple government buildings that were right next to Central Michigan, and it locked down a couple VA government offices. So that triggered Washington, D.C. safety inspectors to come out and do all the outlying offices, not the federal building in Detroit, all the outlying offices where all of the VA employees sit. So that was my office, including all the other, basically counties that they would sit at, because these 1 or 2 VA employees were in a lockdown building for all of the day. And they wanted to do a risk management on, do they have metal detectors? You know, do they have like your, you know, I call it the TSA screeners downstairs, or what type of facilities? So they showed up at 8:30 on a Monday morning, and I had about a 10-minute notice that they were coming. And they basically gave me a few suggestions, and I pushed back a couple suggestions. They of course would love to have the bulletproof glass at my front window. I said, well, we had a bulletproof glass at one time that was donated to us about 8 or 9 years ago with Kermit Harris, and we were not allowed to put it in. So I said, that ain't gonna happen. And then they suggested we do have panic buttons in our office, but they're at the front office, right for the ladies up at the front. And they wanted panic buttons installed where the 2 VA employees are. And they wanted their desk moved around. And then they also wanted, at all federal buildings, people cannot freely walk in with guns. So, or concealed firearms or open carry. And they wanted a sign in the front of I said, like, that's gonna stop anybody. But they wanted us to have a sign. And I said, well, give us a report, write up your report, give us a report, and I'll take it to corporate counsel in our emergency management, or Ben Treppa. And so far, Ben Treppa has already installed the panic buttons. We had them installed last week. So just on a few phone calls, we got the panic buttons installed for them. But
who answers the panic buttons?
The Clinton Township Police Department.
Oh, okay.
It goes directly to the Clinton Township Police Department. And we pushed them. We've had pushed them before. Honestly, we have. Yeah. So a year ago, we had a VA employee. He's probably presented here about 4 years ago. His name was Kevin Kohler. He was about 6'7", former police officer. He no longer works as a VA employee in my office. But just having him in his presence, whenever there was a scuffle up front and someone giving the little girls up front a hard time, he would just walk up there and it just calmed the presence. Because when you're 6'7" and look like a linebacker, it just handles the situation. But he's retired and fully disabled, and he no longer is. He was replaced by somebody who's about this tall, and he's also been replaced by somebody who's blind. So we have a VA employee that's very low vision and partially blind. So
that's not good.
Yeah, well, she does a great job.
Oh, okay.
She does a great job at what she does, but I mean, they don't care. I mean, we're not allowed to open carry. We're not allowed to carry weapons. That's not a county policy. But, you know, I mean, I try to hire men. I try to hire men, trust me. I do my best to hire men. It never fails. Whenever I do interviews, I have, 6 men who are interviewing and 1 female. In the last interviewing process, the female got the job. So I do my best, but it's always the best person for the job. So, but we do have 2 men that are working in my office, and I do have 2 college students that are men, but they're not there all the time. So with our outreaches, they're just not there. So we are working. I am waiting for a report from Washington, D.C. on what they recommend, and they even have money. Oh, you want to throw us some money? Okay, no problem. So we'll take it, but we'll see. We'll see from there. So that was a no notice inspection based on.
Do those happen often?
Never had one since I've been here.
Okay.
They would never have came if we didn't have the VA employees. And the VA employees started in 2013, working in our office.
Okay.
We signed the MOU, Al Lorenzo signed the MOU in 2013, allowing them to share a space in our office. It really does miracles. It saves veterans. I mean, these are our voc rehabilitation counselors. That it saves veterans driving to the VA McNamara building, paying for parking, going up to the 12th floor just to see if you're eligible for any type of employment benefits or education benefits when you're not eligible for the 9/11 benefits.
Okay.
The other benefits. So having them in and they're so busy, they could use another one. They're that busy. But 2 spaces is a lot. Other than the statistics, we have a new employee. We're working on getting 2 more employees hopefully soon. And the other thing I have to present is my portal of service, that project that I chair for the Human Services Coordinating Body. It's not a veterans project. It's the HSCB project that I'm the chair for. And that is those kiosks that we talked about spending money to provide them free information on resources. Right. And right now, it has been delayed a little bit because the contractor that received our equipment is still configuring it, but we should have this up and running within the next couple weeks.
Very good.
So, and in our test phase.
All right. We have a motion and support. Questions? Commissioner Smith.
Hi, Laura. Thanks for, what's that?
There's a list of people.
Oh, well, it's not coming up on his.
It's.
I just have a quick question on what you just said about Al Lorenzo signing the MOU a couple years ago. What is that again? What was that for? I'm sorry,
It's just allowing them to share space in our office.
So it's an intergovernmental agreement, basically allowing.
No money exchange, just allowing them to, the VA, the federal government wanted an MOU signed, and I just verified, am I allowed to sign an MOU with the federal government? And they said, well, it'd just be best if their office signed it.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, I'm good with that.
Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Kleinfeld, please accept my apologies. This thing finally works.
No
Commissioner
problem.
Kleinfeld.
Thank you. Okay, so your building is a federal building.
No. It's a county building.
So they can't mandate metal detector and the guards in that building.
No, they can't mandate it. They can suggest it, but they can't mandate it.
Well, I mean, they can suggest it, and we can tell them, I'm sorry, but our state doesn't allow that, because our state doesn't allow that. Because you're not connected to a courthouse or anything like that, correct?
And I did verify with the sheriff. I mean, I went over and I verified, I emailed them. I said, what is the state policy or the county policy with carrying weapons into county buildings? And she basically said, this was Liz?
Liz Darter.
Yes. And she said that it's the same state policy, that if they have a concealed carry license, they can carry it. I mean, this isn't a court building. It's not.
No,
your building.
this building is because of the direct connection to the court through the tunnel. is the reason that you can't hear, because you could just turn around and then walk into court. And I believe over where the elections is because of their, the probationary department they have over there as well. But
But my
generally
building is not.
speaking,
But
yeah.
my building is not.
Yeah, so, so when they, I mean, I just find that interesting because apparently they didn't know or understand the state laws
Correct. They didn't.
don't.
not.
The Michigan Veteran Affairs audit, I have a question with respect to finding number 2. It says, MVAA could improve contract monitoring by obtaining annual audit reports. Do you know if they were not having annual audit reports? And this seems to be an audit report, so I was wondering if you knew about that. You
I just provided it.
you just provided it.
I just provided their findings because I got a copy of it.
Okay, thank you.
Next, Commissioner Drollet.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks for your report. Appreciate it. Just wanted to follow up on Commissioner Kleinfeld's audit question. The second part of that finding says that Veteran Service Organization officers did not work their scheduled days 23% of the time, or at their approved locations 8% of the time. Can you put that in context? What does that mean? Does that mean they missed 23% of the days they're supposed to be working, or what does it mean?
So MVAA, which is the State Michigan Veterans Affairs Agency, covers the cost of American Legion, VFW. There's like 6 organizations that they pay for and provide funding for in the McNamara building in Detroit.
Okay.
Okay, that are service officers. They do the same job I do, but my funding comes from our millage. So they don't provide any funding to our office. So I am not part of this report from MVAA, okay? So my office is not part of that MVAA audit.
Oh.
Okay,
I see.
so
So this audit is not an audit of your office
No.
specifically, or your department?
This,
Okay.
This audit is from the state Michigan Veterans Affairs Agency, who also oversees those 6 offices in funds, partially funds, not all funds, but they do fund a portion of all 6 of those agencies. And they also have their own veterans service officers that do the same job I do up at the state level.
Okay.
Okay, so they do have those. Now, because they provide that funding, they're tracking their hours, they're tracking how they do their job down in Detroit.
Gotcha. So 23% absenteeism in Detroit is actually pretty good. It would just be bad here. But so anyway, okay, thank you. You clarified that for me. I thought this was specific.
That's the VFW, American Legion, Purple Heart, DAV, I believe Marine Corps League, and VVA, Vietnam Veterans of America. So I want to believe, and they could list them in that report, but I want to believe that, 4 or 5 years ago when they took them off, they initially funded like 12 different organizations, and then they took them all off their funding list and made them apply for funding, and then they funded only 6. So for like the last 6 or 7 years, they were only funding 6.
So
So that's who are included in that report.
just a quick follow. Does that hurt our service providing when a quarter of the time apparently these folks are not on their scheduled days and showing up?
No.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much, and thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, Commissioner Sauger.
Yeah, Laura, earlier in your comments, you mentioned something about a panic button,
Yes,
and that is installed there now?
yes.
And
We've
who-
had those.
Okay, now who ordered or who picked Clinton Township to respond? Why I say that, you're right around the corner from a bunch of sheriff's cars coming
Correct.
in and out, back and forth, but
Right.
your panic button goes over to Clinton Township. I mean, the sheriff's department will get it eventually.
No, because we're in Clinton Township,
I know you're in Clinton Township.
and that's why they have to respond. They have to respond because we're in Clinton Township. That's,
I'll argue that one till whenever, but
that's,
anyway,
that's
in
the
the
way that one
comments, yeah.
works.
Let's make it easy, and you should get your concealed carry license.
Oh, There's a few. There's not too many veterans that don't have a concealed
Yes.
carry license.
That-
If you think about that, there's not too many veterans that don't. So,
Fair enough. Any other comments or questions? We have a motion and support to receive and file. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Laura, well done.
thank you all.
Thank you
for
very
your
much.
support. I really appreciate it.